This video is brought to you by Cubamajigs, a series of reusable gaming packs for MTG Cube sideboards and other games like Keyforge. Check them out at Cubamajigs.com with new designs every Monday. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So as you know, Tuesday means it's Type 2 or Standard Tuesday, and we got a sweet one to look at today. This is Izzet Treasures, and it comes to us from Yuya Sakamoto, who took it to an undefeated finish in a very small Japanese tournament, but congrats to Yuya on a really unique deck. A quick reminder before we break down Izzet Treasures for Standard. If you enjoyed this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So Izzet Treasures is basically a treasure themed deck, and we start off with our treasure production. So as far as making treasures, we got a bunch of different options. We start with two creatures, Captain Lannery Storm and also Sailor Amine. So these cards are oddly similar, but in a very different sort of way. Sailor Amine is a good blocker that makes a treasure when it comes into play. Captain Lannery Storm, not good on defense, but whenever it attacks, we get a treasure, and then it can get really big, because whenever we sack a treasure, it gets +0/+1, but together, this gives us a bunch of 3-drop creatures that start putting treasures on the battlefield. Then we have Treasure Map, comes down on turn 2, filters our draws a little bit, eventually flips around into a land that not only gives us 3 treasure tokens, but a card advantage engine, since we can sacrifice our treasures to draw cards. Finally, Spell Swindle is at the top end of our treasure curve, potentially making a lot of treasures. It's 5 mana, but we get a treasure for the converted mana cost of the spell that it counters, so if our opponent's casting something pretty big, it can turn into a lot of treasures on the battlefield. So these cards help us build up our supply of treasure, and then we have one of the more unique treasure producers, which is also kind of walking the line between treasure producer and treasure payoff, and that is Storm the Vault. So Storm the Vault, whenever one or more creatures deals combat damage to a player that we control, we get to make a treasure, and then if we have 5 or more artifacts at the beginning of our end step, we get to flip Storm of the Vault into Vault of Catlacan, which is basically a Tolarian Academy, taps to add a mana for each artifact we control. So this is not often going to make us treasures. We don't have that many creatures in this deck, but because we have so many things to put treasures and other artifacts on the battlefield, it's going to flip around really quickly, and then Vault of Catlacan is one of our primary plans for closing out the game. So how do we win the game with this deck? We've seen how we make all the treasures, so as far as winning, we have a few different plans. One is, we can't just one-shot someone with Captain Lannery Storm, potentially. If the board is clear and we have a bunch of treasures, the hasty Captain Lannery Storm can come down, we sack all of our treasures, and hit our opponent for just a massive chunk of damage. Then we have our Vault of Catlacan plan. So, Vault of Catlacan, if we have a ton of treasures on the battlefield, is going to tap for a lot of mana, which we can then use to Expansion Explosion, specifically Explosion. Our opponent draw a ton of cards, probably hit another Expansion Explosion, and deal a ton of damage at our opponent's face, and just chain them together to win the game. The other nice thing is, remember that Storm the Vault flips on our end step. The instant speed aspect of Explosion, really key here, because it means we can flip our Vault of Catlacan and immediately get value out of it. We don't have to wait till we untap the next turn, because we can cast Expansion Explosion as the instant. Otherwise, we got some Planeswalkers that work well with the theme. Karn generates card advantage, but in this deck, because we have all those treasures, it's going to make some really big construct tokens, which we could use to just beat down our opponent. Tezzeret Artifice Master makes some Thopters, draws us a ton of cards, and if we implement, it could be pretty sweet as well. So these cards are kind of a combination of engine pieces to keep us drawing through our deck, and can be finishers in their own right. So that's the main plan of the deck. Otherwise, we get a bit more interaction. Quench, early game counterspell, Lava Coil for removal. Mana base wise, really straightforward. 8 dual lands, a bunch of basic lands. In the sideboard, we get a bunch more big spells to take advantage of our Vault of Catlacan. Mass Manipulation with our treasures and our Vault of Catlacan can basically just steal everything on our opponent's side of the battlefield, control. River Rebuke, kind of like a weird Wrath in blue, bouncing all of our opponent's stuff, especially good against tokens. And Banefire, really key against control decks, because Expansion Explosion can be countered, but Banefire can't. So we can just flip our Vault of Catlacan, tap it for a ton of mana, sack all our treasures, potentially 20 our opponent's face with damage. Otherwise, for aggro, Fiery Cannonade as a early game sweeper, Fountain of Renewal to gain some life, and then for control, we get Negate, just to slow down our opponent. And that is Izzet Treasures for Standard, and that's been our Izzet deck tech for today. So thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.